Hello, everybody, and welcome to Britball with the Breens, episode 5. We've got a new camera this week, so hopefully it works properly. So this week, we'll go through the results from the week just past, and then we'll go through the fixtures for the week coming. So we'll crack on. The first of this week's games we actually never predicted last week because we didn't see it on the list. But Tamworth versus Leicester Falcons, pretty easy win for Tamworth in the end.
Yeah, and I think although we didn't predict it on this last week, we did it in our picks, and I think we both comfortably expected Tamworth to win that, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, they seem to be on a roll after the first 3 weeks. People didn't really know, but they seem to be hammering home now. Leicester put 9 on them, which is about what most teams put on Tamworth. So they're still in fighting there, so they've got an interesting matchup this week. The other game on the Saturday, which we'll not talk too much about, because it was frustrating for both of us watching from the sidelines, as Aberdeen Roughnecks went from a 42-0 win down in Yorkshire to losing 2-0 at home, so that wasn't ideal. So we've got a tough week ahead of us to get ready for the game on Sunday. So outside of those two on the Sunday fixtures, the Prem South, Bristol Aztecs versus London Olympians. What the heck happened?
I don't know. I don't think either of us seen this one coming. The Olympians have looked solid, scoring points. Bristol have been failing to score points. They've looked good defensively, in most of their games. I think we were both a little surprised to see the Olympians give up 36 and Bristol get the win at the end of the day. But it's a strong win and a good win for Bristol.
Yeah, as Rob said, the Bristol defence looks solid. The Olympians have given up some points this season, but I did not expect that. Bristol are hot and cold. We've said that a few times. We can't really say much this week, but 36 to be scoring 0 and then put 36 on the Olympians is something must have changed. So we'll have to have a look into that and see if they can provide any feedback. Bristol, if you could. But a brilliant win for them. And the other game was a absolute blowout. The London Warriors won 70-0 against the Farnham Knights. We expected that.
Yeah, it was a repeat of their earlier game. I watched some of the live stream. Obviously, the Warriors are an extremely good football team. There was a couple of things where, Farnham really didn't help themselves. I seen one touchdown in particular where there was somebody standing in the end zone with nobody within 20 yards around him, and you can't give that up to a team like the Warriors. That's just not going to help you at all.
No, and one thing that was to note though is the London Warriors seemed to suffer a few injuries while we were watching that film. So don't know if that was their starting team, obviously, but something to keep a note on. NFC 1 North, the East Kilbride Pirates 49, Gateshead Senators 12. Don't know how much of it was garbage time scoring for Gateshead, but the Pirates seemed comfortable there as well.
I mean, it was 21-6, I believe, at one point. Gateshead got a pick 6, but East Kilbride, they were just too strong. Am I surprised they gave up 12 points? Yeah. But again, as you pointed out, I think the second score was quite late on in the game, and we don't know what kind of rotation they were working by that point.
Yeah, so their defence looks really strong at the moment. NFC 1 South, another bit of a shocker here. Not a huge one, but Shropshire Revolution normally have a pretty stout defence, but they lost 6-20 to the Nottingham Caesars, who seem to have a bit of a groove going at the moment.
Yeah, they've kind of picked up, and I believe we both called this one as a Shropshire win. I don't think either of us thought it would get out of hand or be, an easy victory for Shropshire. Still slightly surprised at the result. But, Nottingham are a strong team. It's a good result for them, and especially on the road.
Yeah, a really good result there. The Lancashire Wolverines suffered a pretty hefty loss to Sandwell Steelers, 59-6. Again, nothing really surprising there. Samwell just looked too good for everyone else in Division 1 right now.
Yeah, again, Samwell have been sharing clips as well through Twitter. I managed to check out a couple of those. They look exceptionally strong. Although I will admit there was one particular run where a defensive back, I'm pretty sure, from Lancashire is not looking forward to getting into the film room because his attempt at a tackle was embarrassing.
What was his number?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I remember seeing it. Yeah, whoever that guy is, go for the knees, bro. Like,
go for something.
Go for something. Yeah. But Sandwell do look like a good team. Interesting one in the SFC 1 Central. The Hertfordshire Cheaters put up 0 against Solent. Now, Solent's defence has always been good these last few years. It hardly gives up any points. But to win 10-0 against Hertfordshire was a bit of a surprise to me.
Yeah, we know Solent are strong. And we obviously know that in their close games with the Thunder that, this is two teams that now know each other very, very well. We had a bit of hope for Hertfordshire, especially given, their result against the Thunder. It's not an upset. I mean, Solent winning is not... I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a surprise. Hertfordshire putting up nothing is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily be too concerned about it. This is two teams that, at least for many years, I don't know if they ever have met each other. These kind of games happen. I think they'll pick themselves up this week.
Yeah, I think just because they were at home, I think I picked them. I think you picked them to win because they were at home. But, I mean, if you look at it on Britball Nation, they were split 50-50. So nobody could really decide between us which way to go. The other game in that division was an easy win for Portsmouth. They won 41-0 against Berkshire. Again, Berkshire struggling at the moment. So they need to just kind of work through the season and potentially get ready for a run at Division 2 next year. The SFC 1 East was one that we were watching with a fair bit of enthusiasm at the weekend because we both picked opposite ways.
Yeah, this was one game we split. We split 3 games this week. This was one, and on this rare occasion, I backed the Cats, you backed the Hornets, so thanks for that one, Cambridgeshire. It looked like a really exciting game. It was back and forth, there was lead changes, and eventually Cambridgeshire came out with a win. Certainly a game I think I'd have liked to have been at. It was a good, the scoreline suggests it was a really good game, really competitive, and,
The devastation. I thought the London Hornets had it. But yeah, a really good win for the Cats to keep them undefeated, and they've got another tough divisional coming up this week. NFC 2 North, as we thought, this game was a lot closer than the first leg because it was in Darlington, but 16-8 win for Inverclyde Gladys, who've made quite an impact in their division this year. Yeah,
I mean, it's a difficult year for them as well with Carlisle pulling out. Obviously, they got a game against Carlisle, Darlington didn't. They've had to really look at it and say, well, there's really only there's only 3 other teams to contend with in that respect. They've already lost to Clyde Valley a couple of times. It becomes quite difficult. It's a challenging season to get that second win against Darlington's a good win, especially on the road. I mean, how tight it is does not matter. It's a good win in your first season on the road.
Yeah, it is. So that's a good season so far for them. In the NFC 2 Central, the Halton Spartans made short work of Furness, 41-6. Again, Halton looked really strong. I'm actually surprised it was this close. Furness at home, of course, maybe a bit of an advantage there. Leeds put 44 up on Morecambe, 44-14. Morecambe Bay struggling a bit just now, but again, they managed to put some points up this week.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing they've always been able to do is put points up. I mean, since they entered the league, they score points, but that defence, it leaks points constantly, and Leeds have obviously taken full advantage of it this week.
Yeah, so Leeds definitely look like Halton's closest challengers, so the match in Leeds should be at least interesting anyway. The NFC 2 South, now this one, we didn't expect this scoreline. So Birmingham Bulls won 34-6 against Staffordshire. Staffordshire took the lead, and then it seems like Birmingham just stepped on the accelerator. As we've said before, both of them usually have stout defences, good lines, but Birmingham, as I said, they've recruited this year a bit. they seem to just have too much for Staffordshire this year.
Yeah, as we said, we didn't know to what extent the scoreline would be. We both expected Birmingham to win, with an added hesitation, I guess, because, these two teams split last year. 34-6 is a great win. It's the first points Birmingham have conceded all year. I'm sure their defence will be pretty mad about that, But 34-6, it's a solid win, and it puts them firmly in control of that division.
Yeah, and they'll be battling for Halton for that number 1 seed. Halton don't concede much either, so that'll be an interesting one going in. I think the chances are that the finals may go through Birmingham or the lovely stadium at Halton. The SFC2 West, South Wales Warriors beat the Somerset Wyverns 29-6. I believe there was a little bit of controversy around the first score. Wales struggled to break the deadlock, but eventually they've racked up a pretty decent score there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good win again. And Somerset have obviously shown that they've made big improvements this year, but we expect South Wales to be a strong team.
In the other game in that division, Cornish Sharks won 20-6 over Worcester Black Knights. Now, we picked separate for this one. I picked the Cornish Sharks to win. So they seem to have made big improvements this year, especially on defence, because they're not giving up many points.
Yeah, this was our second split one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the Worcestershire Black Knights, like the sauce. It's a good win for the Sharks. I believe the Knights went to the playoff. Well, qualified for the playoffs last year and then forfeited their playoff game.
Yikes.
I don't know if that's maybe caused them to suffer this year as well. Guys not happy with that setup, but
yeah.
It's a good win for the Sharks, and it's good to see them start to pick up a few wins again.
Yeah, and again, 6 points away from home is pretty decent. The SFC's 2 South, Swindon Storm 28, Jurassic Coast Raptors 3. No surprises here. Swindon are the middle of the pack team by the looks of this. Too good for the low end, but not good enough for Bournemouth and Blitz. And then in what was an absolute cracker of a game, or looked like it anyway, and had me jumping at the roof and then sitting cursing for 5 minutes. The FSC2 East, the Ipswich Cardinals 31, Norwich Devils 31.
Yeah, it's our third split game, and so in the end we had one I got right, one you got right, and a tie, which helps absolutely no one. What a phenomenal game. 31-31. By the looks of some of the photos and that, they put on a great show, the national anthem, the full works. And then put on a great show of football afterwards with lead changes again in the fourth quarter, a few lead changes there.
Yeah.
By what I've read, it looks like Ipswich looked like they had it in the bag, and Norwich came back. It's
it's football.
It's football, and that's what we want to see. That's the kind of score lines. Nobody wants to see 70, 80, 90-0 blowouts. We obviously don't want teams to tie. I still would love to see us have proper college rules like we did in the final for overtime.
Yeah.
But hey, 31-31 is a great game of football.
Yeah.
Any way you slice it.
Well, it was good in our household anyway, so hopefully other folk join. So that's the results for the week. Now, biggest upset of the week, Bristol. They only had 4% of the vote. They had 4% and they won by 16 points. So bravo, Bristol Aztecs. So on to this week. Fixtures going forward. There's a lot this week. First of all, starting off with the Saturday game, the SFC2 South, the Jurassic Coast Raptors versus the Hastings Conquerors. Oh dear Lord.
There are not many things I could think about that I care about less than this game right now. You'd expect Jurassic Coast to win.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it's an opportunity for Hastings to actually do something productive. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, Swindon put 64 points on Hastings and only put 28 on Jurassic. So you think, So I think Jurassic Coast win this one. I wouldn't say that's going to be an exciting affair. So on to the Prem North. So the first one's an absolute belter. Sheffield Giants versus Leicester Falcons. Now, Sheffield have not won yet. Leicester have only won once. So very, very much lots of stuff on the line here. Sheffield Giants have looked the part on defence. They've struggled to score points. This is their chance, though.
Yeah, and I think that they've really picked up again lately. They ran Tamworth close. It was a decent game. This is a tight one. This is one of the difficult games to call this week. I've opted for Sheffield, and I'm going to stand by that. I don't think it's going to be by much. Hey, this could come down to a field goal at the end of the game, or it could be a blowout. I just don't know, but I think Sheffield get the win this weekend.
Yeah, I've gone the same way. I think their defence might just be able to stop Leicester from running the ball as much. The second game in that division, Edinburgh Wolves versus Merseyside Nighthawks. It's in Edinburgh. However, Merseyside did them over pretty good in the second half in the reverse fixture. So I've sided with the Merseyside Nighthawks in this game as well.
Yeah, it's the same boat for me. I don't see enough to turn over the scoreline just because it's in Edinburgh. I remain to be seen. It might well, but I think Merseyside win.
Yeah, I'd agree. In the Prem South, Farnham Knights versus Bristol Aztecs. Now, Farnham might have been looking at this game thinking, "Oh, could sneak a win here." Not so much that's the idea now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Farnham, as you say, had any hopes of picking up a win, they'd have been looking at this game, and now it's probably a mild panic at this stage.
Yeah.
And whereas before I'd maybe be a bit sceptical to back Bristol, I can only see one winner.
Yeah, I back Bristol as well. I think with that offense, if it's finally clicked in scoring points, then watch out Farnham. Now, the game of the week for Gridiron Hub is the NFC 1 North, Northumberland Vikings versus East Kilbride Pirates. Now, we normally don't talk much about our division, but we will this one. Two very good teams, a very strong East Kilbride Pirates defence, a good Northumberland Vikings defensive line, a good running back for the Vikings, a good QB runner for the East Kilbride Pirates. So this one's stoked up to be a really good one. I guess for me and you, we both went with the Pirates, purely on the fact that Northumberland are good at running, but I don't think they've faced a defence like this one yet.
No, I mean, both teams are undefeated. We've played them both. I'd say the Pirates' offence is more free scoring, and that effectively for me is what's going to make the difference this weekend. Both teams extremely physical. Both teams love to run the ball hard, but I think East Kilbride Pirates win.
Yeah. The second game is ourselves versus Glasgow. We're obviously on the road, so that's going to be a tough affair again. Hopefully we'll have a slightly better week than last week, but we'll wait and see. The NFC 1 South, Nottingham Caesars versus Lancashire Wolverines. Now, I've got this penciled in as potentially a game of the week because Nottingham have found their groove. They're starting to score points. Lancashire scored a fair few points against Doncaster a couple of weeks ago. Defence leaks points. So this one could be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure it will. I think, although Lancashire managed to put up decent points against Doncaster, so has everybody else. Nottingham obviously coming off the back of a real good win against Shropshire. I think Nottingham win this comfortably.
Yeah, I've put Nottingham to win, but I think there could be a lot of points in this game. Then a bottom of the table clash, Doncaster Mustangs versus the Chester Romans. Now Chester found some groove against Lancashire a couple of weeks ago. Have had a bit of rest, so I can't see past them managing to put points on Doncaster's defence.
No, I think this is just this game is just an opportunity for Chester to flex their muscles a little bit. I don't see anything else than a Chester win.
Yeah, and they'll be happy to get themselves clear of the bottom team if they do so. The SFC 1 Central, rematch of Portsmouth Dreadnoughts versus Hertfordshire Cheetahs. Now, Hertfordshire coming off a really close loss. Portsmouth are at home. There was only one score in it last time. However, I do think Hertfordshire will be out for revenge after not scoring anything last week.
Yeah, I mean, Portsmouth are at home. That always makes a bit of a difference. They're familiar opponents with playing each other, 3 times last year. these games never tend to be blowouts because they know each other. I think it'll be fairly close, but Hertfordshire win.
Yeah. The other one, however, might be a blowout. Solent are at home against Berkshire. Berkshire struggling. Solent don't give up hardly any points, so I think it's just going to be a case of how much points does Solent put up on Berkshire. The SFC 1 East, Ouse Valley Eagles have already forfeited. So they've got the Wembley Stallions. Wembley run over them.
Yeah.
Can't see much else here. Ouse Valley just preparing for football in the lower divisions. However, there's a really solid game here, and that's the Bury Saints versus Cambridgeshire Cats. Now, for the second week in a row, I've went against Cambridgeshire. Now, this game in the first leg was 18-10 to Cambridgeshire, but Cambridgeshire were at home. Now, I've watched Bury get close to every team in this division when they've been away. So I think that Bury might upset the bandwagon this week.
Again, you'd expect this game to be close. I see nothing other than this being a tight game, especially with Bury being at home. I've backed the Cats like I have done, I think, all year, if I remember rightly. I backed them again, and I think they'll get it done. It'll be tight, but I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Colchester Gladiators versus London Hornets. Can only see this one going one way. London, after a very close loss last week, will probably be out again to make sure they hammer home. Poor Colchester will be on the end of that one. In the NFC 2 North, Inverclyde Goliaths are at home to Dumfries. Now, Dumfries ran away with the first game. However, Inverclyde have made some steps. They've put up some scores, etc. So, do you see this one being closer?
I see it being closer. If anything, I think the biggest factor in this game is going to be the length of time that Dumfries have went without playing a football game.
Yeah.
You know, because of Carlisle forfeit, and there's now been a big gap in the schedule. Inverclyde, obviously, the only team that got the advantage of playing them. I think Dumfries will win, but you're right. I think this will be close.
I think Dumfries will win. I've got them down, but I think the Goliaths have put up a tougher fight than last time. The NFC 2 Central, NFC 2 Central, Leeds Bobcats versus Furness Phantoms. Leeds have looked the better team of that division outside of Halton. Furness are struggling to put up points at the moment, and it's away from home, so I think this one will go to Leeds by at least 2 or 3 scores.
Yeah, comfortable with that as well.
In the other game, the Morecambe Bay Storm versus Halton Spartans. Now, this one could get ugly. It might not. Morecambe Bay are at home. They might put up some points early, but I can't see it. Halton look too strong. Away from home, I think they'll do the business, and it could be a lengthy score.
Yeah, I expect some busy takeouts in Halton because there's going to be burger on Saturday.
NFC 2 South, the Birmingham Bulls face the Crewe Railroaders. Coming off of a 34-6 drubbing of Staffordshire away from home, I can't see anything but Birmingham destroying Crewe at home. Again, that defence is savage, so it'll be interesting to see how long Crewe can stick with them.
Not long. I don't think so.
Yeah. However, the other game in this division, the rematch of the Staffordshire Surge versus Lincolnshire Bombers. Now, I called the Bombers to win this one last time. However, I've gone with the Surge this time. I think that at home, after being beaten by Birmingham, they need to establish themselves as the second best team in this division again. So it'll be a very interesting game, and Lincolnshire haven't played in a few weeks.
Yeah, and in the first match I went with the Surge, and I've flip-flopped over to the Bombers this time. I think that defeat to Birmingham will just be too damaging for Staffordshire, and I think that gives Lincolnshire a big advantage going into the game this week.
That is a distinct possibility. They could have taken a physical hiding from the Bulls last week. In the SFC 2 West, the Torbay Trojans versus the Worcestershire Black Knights. Torbay have looked alright this season. They looked strong at the start. They've taken it down a notch since then. But against the Black Knights, they should be comfortable winners.
Yeah, strong defence, decent enough offence, Torbay win.
Yeah. The other game in that division is a right back-to-back reverse fixture, Somerset Wyverns versus the South Wales Warriors. Now this time Somerset's at home. As I said, it looked like it was really hard to break the deadlock last week. Did Wales find the key to the door, or was it just overpowering them in the end? Don't know. So it could be interesting with Somerset being at home. I think Wales will win this one by 1 or 2 scores. I don't think it'll be a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, you'd predict it's going to be close. It should be a similar game. There's not really much time to dive into the film and prepare yourself for facing the same opponent again, so I see a similar result.
Yeah. And the last game for this weekend is the SFC2 South, Swindon Storm versus Bournemouth Bobcats. Now, this is a reverse fixture from 2 weeks ago. Bournemouth absolutely destroyed Swindon at home. I can't really see anything else but that happening. Bournemouth seem to have made some really good strides this year. Score points, don't give up many. So it will be a very one-sided game, I think, again, for our last game this week.
Yeah, I made the mistake of predicting this as a potential game of the week a couple of weeks ago. I will not be making that mistake again. Bournemouth by a long way.
Okay, so no dummies this week. People seem to be hiding, other than our wee tackler from, where was it he was from?
The Wolverines.
The Wolverines.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. Sort yourself out. So that is the Britball with the Breens episode 5. Again, if you want to get in contact with us, let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.